This is all the advice that I would give to my younger self. 1 year ago today, started running and did not know what he was doing. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started running, but since then, I've learned quite a lot about the sport. I want to share some of the advice that I would give to anybody who wants to also start running. Let's get into it. Tip number one, your pacing. When starting off a run, you should begin quite slowly. And the thing is, when you start off a run, like I said, you should begin slowly and you should start progressively overloading your pace throughout the run. So when you start your run, there is no point where you should be running extremely fast or you should be sprinting at the start of a run. It's not like that. You need to start off slow and light and then slowly and steadily increase your pace through like each minute, right? And then at the end of the run, so when we're at like near the last 30 seconds or the last minute or so, that's when we sprint. That's when we run the fastest. If this is the finish line and we're right here, we want to zoom. We want to go as fast as possible. Why is that? Because the end of the run, we're approaching the end of the run, so it's okay to expand all our energy because the run's going to be complete anyway. Think about it. If you're in a race situation and you're competing against other people, you want to be the first person to get to the end of the finish line. So it makes sense to have enough energy throughout the run. So you have enough energy to carry yourself through the run, and then if you have any extra energy left over, you use all of it at the end of the run and you zoom as fast as possible. So that's what we want to replicate. We want to start off slow, start off very light, and then slowly, very, very slowly, still keeping it at quite a light jogging pace, start to progressively overload our pace throughout the run quite slowly, and at the end, we can go as fast as possible. It doesn't really matter. You just expand your energy. This also further makes sense as when we're starting off a run, we would want our legs to actually get warmed up first, so we would prevent any like unwanted injuries or any damage or any pain. This is a very important and pretty fundamental rule that I've learned over the course of months. So I used to personally be a bit of an idiot, I'm not gonna lie. I used to start my run. I would start my runs and then I would just start off very fast because I had the mindset that, oh, okay, if I'm running fast, then that means that I'm running good. Right, you get me? So I would start off my run, I would start off quite fast. And so the entire like length of the run, I'm running quite fast, honestly. I'm actually like proper running. And so when I would be roughly like a kilometer in, or not even a mile in, to be honest, I would be so out of breath that like I would just end up limping through the run. So if I start right here and I end right here, I've expanded most of my energy through the run, and now I'm like right here, right? And now I don't have enough energy to carry myself through the run, so I'm gonna like start jogging and running slow, and then end up finishing quite weak. We don't want that. We want to start off slow. We want to have enough energy, more than enough energy actually, to carry ourselves through the run and then expand all of our energy to get past that finish point. Tip number two, your breathing. When you're running, your muscles will be working much harder than they are normally, which means that you will need a greater intake of oxygen in your body. So breathing can get slightly difficult, which is why maintaining control of your breathing is crucial and is vital so that you don't end up tiring yourself out. So what we want to do is at the beginning of the run, when we're running quite slowly and quite lightly, we want to be taking deep breaths. So we want to be breathing quite deeply at the start of the run, right? So just taking a long deep breaths, and then as you progress your run, right, and you start running a bit faster and taking those long deep breaths, it gets a bit hard. So what we want to do when we've progressed our run a little bit, we want to shift our focus onto a breathing pattern that allows us to keep up our energy for a longer period of time. So what I personally do is I use a 2 for 2 breathing pattern. So 2 for 2, meaning that I inhale for 2 seconds and then I'll exhale for 2 seconds. And I found that this personally works best for me and helps me keep a constant control over my breathing. Extra tip, make sure that you're breathing through your nose and not through your mouth, because breathing through your nose, even while you're exercising, even while you're tired, that's the proper way to breathe. So make sure that you're breathing through your nose at all times and your mouth is closed. Don't breathe through your mouth. It's not good. Tip number 3, be mindful of your idea of a good run. So let me ask you a question. What's your idea of a good run? Most likely, it's reference points like getting a good average pace, or maybe burning a certain number of calories, or perhaps it's reaching a certain distance, let's say 2 or 3 kilometers. However, these numbers can distract us from actually having an enjoyable run, and it can get to points where running can honestly get quite toxic. So for me personally, I would previously beat a mile in like 9 minutes. This was like a year ago. So I would beat a mile in 9 minutes. But let's say one day I had like a bad run, and then maybe I beat the mile in like 10 or 11 minutes. What I've found is that when you focus on the numbers, your brain will try to convince you that you are somehow a failure, or that you have performed worse just because you maybe took an extra minute to reach the mile or whatever. Your brain will give you these negative thoughts and will try to convince you that you are actually worse. Instead, what we want to divert our attention to is this idea of just showing up. So, just showing up to the run. So let's say if I step out of the house and go for a run, even for like a minute, honestly, like 2 minutes, 1 minute, it doesn't really matter. As long as I step outside of the house and hit the track, I can say that I had a successful run. Reaching a certain distance though can be fun, and it can be quite motivating to get yourself running 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers. But don't beat yourself up just because you maybe had a bad run, or perhaps you didn't expect to get a certain type of statistic. Like let's say maybe your average pace was a bit higher than you expected. Don't beat yourself up over that. Don't let your mind control you, right? As long as you showed up to the habit, you have reached your goal and have had a successful run. Tip number 4, focus on consistency, not intensity. Let me ask you another question. Do you still want to be going on runs consistently in like your 50s, your 60s, and your 70s? Be living a healthy and active lifestyle? Well, of course, right? The obvious answer is yes. So, therefore, we can say that running is a lifelong goal. So if you're maybe 14 or 15 and you're first starting out running, your focus, your attention should be put on making running into a habit, so that you don't even have to think about doing it because you're just so used to it and it has literally become so automatic. So when we take this idea into account, we therefore can say that we have the rest of our life to raise up the intensity and go for longer, more challenging runs, go for 5, 6, 10 kilometer runs. So it actually makes quite a lot of sense to say that you should master the fundamentals first before you make it harder for yourself. This is exactly what I've been doing recently. I started running again 2 months ago, and I have been consistently running every single day for the past 2 months. Guaranteed that I would have missed some days as I was out or I was busy, but otherwise I have shown up to every single run I've been on. How? How have I managed to do this? Well, because quite simply, I made it easy for myself. When I first started running again, I just started running for 5 minutes. So the length of my run would literally just be for 5 minutes, which maybe you're thinking like, okay, that's a bit stupid. Why would you run for 5 minutes when I know that I could be running for 10 or 15 minutes? Why would I start off so small? And that's just it. Your brain will try to convince you that you are better than you actually are because you have that ego inside of you that tells you, no, I don't want to run for 5 minutes because I know that I can run for 10 and 15 and 20 minutes. So why would I do 5? Because I know that I'm better than that. The thing is, you need to actually hurt your ego a little bit and deliberately start off small so that you feel more than up for showing up to runs every single day. And maybe as you've been running for like a month or 2 months, and that is when you can start progressively overloading, so increasing a certain statistic. So let's say if you've been running for 5 minutes, let's say now you run for 7 minutes or 8 minutes to make it a bit more challenging for yourself so you can level up your skills. Bonus tip: use the Nike Run Club app. It's a free app available on iOS and Android, I believe. And I've personally been using this app for a while now, and I believe that it's the best running app there is on the App Store. They have some fantastic guided runs on there that are great for teaching you like running tips and different techniques and like different philosophies that I highly recommend that you check out because I've personally found quite a lot of value from them and would highly recommend them again for anyone who wants to start running or consistently goes for runs and needs some kind of app or some kind of method to track their runs. So this is a fantastic app that you can check out. Have a fantastic rest of your day.